Environmental impact statements are used in large-scale federal planning applications and are meant to aid the average person in understanding the potential environmental impacts of a major federal action. In many cases, the process and outcome of an EIS can be complex, leaving local communities, stakeholders, and even agencies confused as to what extent the impact might affect them. Environmental impact statement management and preparation, if approached skillfully, can reduce problems and delays. In other cases, such as we saw in Hurricane Katrina, an EIS can complicate, delay, and exacerbate an already catastrophic situation. Here are some ways to create more functionality and readability to improve overall quality of an EIS document. An EIS document needs a statute of limitations. A study performed by DeWitt and DeWitt found that the time to prepare an EIS ranged from 51 days to 6,708 days. In case you're wondering, that's 18.5 years. From the data collected in their study, DeWitt and DeWitt concluded various attempts to streamline the EIS preparation process have either failed or have yet to take effect. While these numbers are staggering, I don't believe that their study was broad enough to evaluate why the length of some EISs lasts so long. In my opinion, there is no single reason, but rather a plethora of reasons why this could happen. According to the United States Federal Highway Administration, reasons why a project can exceed 5 or more years in duration are lack of funding or low priority, local controversy, or a complex project with no specific reason. Turtle Bay Resort is a prime example of why a timeline is necessary in the development and execution of an EIS. The Turtle Bay Resort, located about 50 miles from Honolulu, was approved for expansion in 1985. After an EIS was developed, local opposition developed against the plans over preservation of the land, which caused the property to fall into financial ruins, switching hands on several occasions. In 2010, Kalima Resort tried to use the original EIS from 1985 to push through a major development plan for the resort, without any concern over how drastically the environmental conditions had changed over the last 25 years. The owners were ultimately forced to develop a supplemental EIS for its expansion plan. What happened with the Turtle Bay Resort EIS should never, under any circumstances, ever happen. The Council on Environmental Quality regulations state that even large, complex energy projects would require only about 12 months for the completion of an entire EIS process. So why did this happen? Instead of providing guidance, the CEQ needs to identify a clear-cut timeline and establish statute of limitations for the final conclusion of an EIS. The amount of time and money wasted in this specific case is inexcusable. Next, an EIS needs to limit size and get organized. According to the Federal Highways Administration report, Guidance for Preparing and Processing Environmental and Section F document, the FHWA subscribes to the philosophy that the goal of the NEPA process is better decisions and not more documentation. It seems that these documents can get bogged down with erroneous material completely unnecessary for the analysis and decision-making process of an EIS. In addition, the range of environmental issues associated with the policy and legal requirements can be complex for the average person to read. This decreases the document's ability to communicate with the general public, stakeholders, and agency decision makers. Transparency is a critical part of an EIS, but if the length of the document is too long and language is confusing, transparency is lost. Using an easy format and clear and concise language benefits the effectiveness of the entire EIS. Lastly, does an EIS need legislation itself? Federal laws and regulations, to include NEPA, require the federal government to evaluate the effects of its actions on the environment and to determine if an environmental impact statement must be prepared. While pertinent information must be included if an EIS is drafted, there is no penalty if it is not. All of the information that contributes to an EIS is based off of recommendations and regulations from the CEQ, but is not mandated. If an EIS possessed a penalty for not meeting the requirements of NEPA and the CEQ, agencies would be more likely to follow protocol when developing the document.